Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna,
Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley from wherever you're tuning in from, and thank you everyone who's joined us in our live studio audience. It's my great pleasure today to welcome back to ISV His Holiness Giriraj Swami, one of Prabhupada's nearest and dearest, a founder of early participant in the pioneering days of the Sankirtan movement, a GBC emeritus, and author, and a beloved devotee of Vaishnavas all over the world from many generations. Maharaj, we deeply appreciate you coming here for Janmashtami Vyasa Puja. We know you had many options, and you chose to come here. So please let's welcome His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Sitasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Sitasri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sri Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. It is a great honor and pleasure and privilege to be with you all again in the auspicious presence of Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan and Srila Prabhupada and all of you. Today I will read a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that strikes me as appropriate because it is simultaneously a glorification of Krishna and of Srila Prabhupada, and thus is quite suitable as we approach Sri Krishna Janmashtami and Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 We read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Prayers by the Demigods to Krishna in the Womb. Text 31. Swayam Samutirya Sudustaram Dyuman Bhavarnavam Bhimam Adabra Sorida Bhavat Padamboruha Navam Atra Te Nidaya Yata Sad Anugraho Bhavan Swayam Samutirya Sudustaram Dyuman Bhavarnavam bhimamada sorida. Bhavat padam boruhanavam atrate. Nidaya yata sadanugraha bhavan. Swayam samutirya sudustaram dyuman. Bhavarnavam bhimanadabra sorida. Bhavat padam boruhanavam atrate. Nidaya yata sadanugraho bhavan. Swayam samutirya sudustaram dyuman. Bhavarnavam bhimamada sorida. Bhavat padam boruhanavam atrate. Nidaya yata sadanugraho bhavan.
Swayam samutirya sudustaram dyuman.
Samutirya sudustaram dyuman.
Bhavarnavam bhimam abhadrashaurida.
Bhavarnavam bhimamada sorida.
Bhavat padam boruhanavam atrate. Nithaya yata sadanugraho bhavan.
Bhavat padambo ruhanavamatrate. Nidaya yata sadanugraho bhavan.
Bhavat padam boruhanavamatrate. Nidaya yata sadanugraho bhavan. Swayam samuttirya sudushtaram dyuman. Bhavarnavam bhimamada sorida. Bhavat padam boruhanavamatrate. Nidaya yata sadanugraho bhavan.
Swayam, personally, samutirya, perfectly crossing, sudustaram, which is very difficult to cross, dyuman, O Lord, who appear exactly like the sun, illuminating the darkness of this world of ignorance. Bhava Arnavam, the ocean of nescience, Bhimam, which is extremely fierce, Adabrasaurida, devotees who are incessantly friendly to the fallen souls. Bhavat Pada Amboruha, your lotus feet. Navam, the boat for crossing. Atra, in this world. Te, they, the Vaishnavas. Nidaya, leaving behind. Yata, on to the ultimate destination. Vaikuntha. Sad Anugraha, who are always kind and merciful to the devotees. Bhavan, you. Translation. O Lord, who resemble the shining sun, you are always ready to fulfill the desire of your devotee, and therefore you are known as a desire tree, Vanchakalpatru. When acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet, in order to cross the fierce ocean of nescience, they leave behind on earth the method by which they cross. And because you are very merciful to your other devotees, you accept this method to help them. So please repeat. O Lord, who resemble the shining sun, you are always ready to fulfill the desire of your devotee. And therefore you are known as a desire tree. Vanchakalpaturu. When acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet, in order to cross the fierce ocean of nescience, they leave behind on earth the method by which they cross. And because you are very merciful to your other devotees, you accept this method to help them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This statement reveals how the merciful acharyas and the merciful Supreme Personality of Godhead together help the serious devotee who wants to return home back to Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teachings to Rupa Goswami, said, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 19:151. One can achieve the seed of Bhakti Lata, devotional service, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The duty of the Guru is to find the means according to the time the circumstances, and the candidate by which one can be induced to render devotional service, which Krishna accepts from a candidate who wants to be successful in going back home, back to Godhead. How many of you want to be successful in going back home, back to Godhead? But this is for you. After wandering throughout the universe, a fortunate person within this material world seeks shelter of such a guru or acharya who trains the devotee in the suitable ways to render service according to the circumstances, so that the Supreme Personality of Godhead will accept the service. This makes it easier for the candidate to reach the ultimate destination. So Srila Prabhupada did that for us. He presented a method of devotional service that would please Krishna and thus make it easy for us to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, there's more to the purport, and I will return to it. But one word in this verse is bhava. Bhava with you could say a short a, as opposed to bhava with a long a. Bhava means, you could say, mood or ecstatic love of Godhead, and bhava literally means that which comes into existence, and it means the material world. So Srila Prabhupada initiated a disciple and gave him the name Bhavananda, Bhavananda, the bliss of the material world. So that disciple was very concerned. What was Srila Prabhupada trying to say by giving him that name? And Srila Prabhupada explained that the bliss of the devotee is experienced through the bliss of Krishna. And the bliss of the material world is preaching. There's no preaching as such in the spiritual world because everyone is already fully Krishna conscious. So the bliss of the material world is preaching, and that gives Krishna the greatest pleasure. And thus the devotee experiences the greatest pleasure through preaching. So that is Bhavananda. So, the acharya's duty, therefore, is to find the means by which devotees may render service according to references from Shastra. Well, this is a very important point. Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya. We accept three authorities: sadhu, which means saintly persons, can mean previous acharyas; Shastra, scripture; and Guru, spiritual master. Shastra is the central point because the sadhus, they live their lives according to Shastra, and the Guru, well, he also lives his life according to Shastra, and he repeats these same instructions of Shastra. The Acharya's duty, therefore, is to find the means by which devotees may render service according to references from Shastra. Rupa Goswami, for example, in order to help subsequent devotees, published such devotional books as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Thus, it is the duty of the Acharya to publish books that will help future candidates take up the method of service and become eligible to return home back to Godhead by the mercy of the Lord. And it is our duty, of course, to read the books. That's how we will learn the method prescribed in the books, by reading the books and applying the instructions in our lives. And of course, as Krishna says at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, he's most pleased with the devotees who preach his message. He says, "There is no servant in the world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear." And in the end, devotional service is guaranteed, and he will go back home, back to Godhead. So we want to read the books and apply their teachings in our lives and distribute the books so others can also benefit. Rupa Goswami, for example, in order to help subsequent devotees, published such devotional books as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Thus, it is the duty of the Acharya to publish books, as Srila Prabhupada did, that will help future candidates to take up the method of service and become eligible to return home back to Godhead by the mercy of the Lord. In our Krishna consciousness movement, this same path is being prescribed and followed. Thus, the devotees have been advised to refrain from 4 sinful activities: illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, and to chant 16 rounds a day. These are bona fide instructions. Now, some people in a way, they say that these are not bona fide instructions. They say that, you should chant 64 rounds a day, 1 lakh of names. But Srila Prabhupada says that these are bona fide instructions, and he explains why. Thus, the devotees have been advised to refrain from 4 sinful activities: illicit sex, intoxication, meeting, and gambling, and chant 16 rounds a day. These are bona fide instructions. Because in the Western countries, constant chanting is not possible, one should not artificially imitate Haridas Thakur, but should follow this method. We should have faith in what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Krishna will accept a devotee who strictly follows the regulative principles and the method prescribed in the various books and literatures published by the authorities. Yes, the basic principle of Vaidhi Bhakti is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Oh my gosh, Satatam, you would know, Vaisheshika Prabhu. Yeah, yes. Smartavya Satyatam Vishnu Najatu. Yeah. One should always remember Krishna and never forget him. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada it elaborates on the principle, and he explains that we have many activities in the Krishna consciousness movement, such as distributing books, enrolling life members, and so on, which are all connected to Krishna. And therefore, by engaging in those activities, we can always remember Krishna. But further, Srila Prabhupada says that in order to always remember Krishna, one must chant the prescribed number of minimum rounds. And Srila Prabhupada says, of all the instructions of the spiritual master, the instruction to chant at least 16 rounds daily is most essential. So, to always remember Krishna, we need to do both things. Engage in service connected to Krishna. Somehow I think of a sort of amusing statement by one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples named Garga Muni, whom Srila Prabhupada affectionately called Garga Money, because he was really, he was into making money and he was good at making money. But once he bragged that he could enroll a life member without ever once mentioning the name of Krishna, which in a way could be taken as a testimony to his salesmanship. But it's not really it's not really the way we want to do things. We want to do our service in such a way that we, as far as possible, remember Krishna and glorify Krishna and speak Krishna's name. But Garga Muni Prabhu has written a book called Garga Muni. So, yeah, I have a copy. It's worth reading. Krishna will accept a devotee who strictly follows the regulative principles and the method prescribed in the various books and literatures published by the authorities. Now, as the verse says, and as we know, Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal. He's very affectionate to his devotees. That word Vatsal is related to the word Vatsa, which means a cow. Cows are very affectionate to their children. And whatever the devotee promises, Krishna will fulfill. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly, my devotee will never perish. The question could be raised, why does Krishna tell Arjuna to make the declaration? Why does he not just make the declaration himself? And the answer is that although Krishna is most truthful, he may, on in an exceptional situation, break his word for the sake of his devotee. And one example took place during the Battle of Kurukshetra, when Duryodhana, can I assume that our audience knows that the basic history? Yes. So Duryodhana, he challenged Bhishma Dev, who was fighting on Duryodhana's side, that you are not fighting to your full capacity because of your affection for the Pandavas, which was an insult to grandfather Bhishma. It was like an accusation. So Bhishma Dev took a vow that either I will kill Arjuna in the fighting tomorrow, or I will fight in such a heroic way that Krishna will be forced to break his vow not to take up any weapon during the fighting. Is that, you know, the background? So that was the arrangement. That Krishna said that he would not take up any weapon. He would just drive the chariot of Arjuna. And so it happened that grandfather Bhishma fought so heroically that Arjuna was actually in trouble. And Krishna picked up a broken chariot wheel as a weapon and rushed towards grandfather Bhishma with that broken chariot wheel as a weapon. And thus, he broke his own promise not to take up any weapon and take part in the fighting. And he did it, well, for the sake of Arjuna, to save his life, and for the sake of grandfather Bhishma, to make his word come true. So when Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijani iname bhakta pranashyati, O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish, he asks Arjuna to make the declaration because it is a fact, and a well-known fact, that Krishna will always uphold the word of his devotee, although on rare occasions he may break his own word for the sake of his devotee. I relate this to our beloved Srila Prabhupada, who has promised us that if we just chant 16 rounds and follow the regulative principles and do our best to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, we will go back home, back to Godhead. This is his promise. And we're confident that Krishna will uphold Srila Prabhupada's promise. Early when I joined, I heard something that Srila Prabhupada said that surprised me. And he said that the spiritual master is the representative of Krishna. And he said, just like the representative of a company, if he enters into a deal, even if the company, the head office, doesn't like the deal, they have to stand by it because their representative made the deal. So, so even if, not that it's true, but even if Krishna didn't like that promise that if you just chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles and do your best to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, he will uphold it, because Srila Prabhupada, his representative, made that commitment. Jai. The Acharya gives the suitable method for crossing the ocean of nescience by accepting the boat of the Lord's lotus feet. And if this method is strictly followed, the followers will ultimately reach the destination by the grace of the Lord. This method is called Acharya Sampradaya. It is therefore said, Sampradaya Vinihaye Mantraste Nishphalamataha, Padma Purana. That means that, that if you receive a mantra not through the Acharya Sampradaya, it will be fruitless. So, yes. This method is called Acharya Sampradaya. It is therefore said, Sampradaya Vinaya Ye Mantraste Nishphalamataha, Padma Purana. The Acharya Sampradaya is strictly bona fide. Therefore, one must accept the Acharya Sampradaya. Otherwise, one's endeavor will be futile. Srila Narottam Das Thakur therefore sings, Tandera Charana Sevi, Bhakta Sanevas, Janame Janame Hai, E Avilas. One must worship the lotus feet of the Acharya, Tandera Charana Sevi, serve the lotus feet, and live within the society of devotees, Bhakta Sanevas. Then one's endeavor to cross over nescience will surely be successful. Now, in commenting on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes a very important point. It's implicit in what Srila Prabhupada wrote, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it explicitly, that the boat that the Acharya leaves behind so that others may cross the ocean of nescience, can refer to or include bhakti movements that the Acharya has established. So in that sense, ISKCON is a boat. And sometimes we have that image that ISKCON is a boat and Srila Prabhupada is the captain of the ship. And that fits very well with this understanding of the verse, as explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that the boat that they leave behind can refer to the bhakti movements. And that reminds me of a nice statement that Srila Prabhupada made about crossing the ocean. It may not be that relevant to the devotees here because the relationships here under Vaisheshika Prabhu and Nirukula Mataji's leadership seem very congenial. But in this one talk, Srila Prabhupada said that you cannot expect all people in the Krishna consciousness movement to be first class. We are accepting all kinds of people. Some may be first class, some may be second class, some may be third class. But your business is not to bother about the other people on the boat. I mean, obviously he was addressing some devotees who had some concerns about the other devotees. Your concern is with the philosophy and the practice. And so what is it to you? Who else is on the boat? You know, your concern is with the philosophy and practice and to cross over the ocean. So, yeah, he said you cannot expect everyone to be to your liking. But if we stay on the boat with Srila Prabhupada as the captain and remain focused in our understanding of the philosophy and practicing of Bhakti Yoga, we will be successful. And our contemporaries, as I understand it, when we go back to Godhead, we'll be with Srila Prabhupada. And so we won't be with Srila Prabhupada alone, we'll be with him with all of his other followers, such as all of you who are recipients of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And so we will, well, as Srila Prabhupada said, we'll have another ISKCON in the spiritual sky. So if you are having some difficulties in any relationships, it's probably better to get over them, because you may be together for a very long time. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, do any of you have any questions, comments, reflections? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, welcome. Thank you for joining us this year. I was just looking into your comments on the Konteha Pratijane.
Yeah.
So, I was having a discussion during a book distribution with one person, and it was mentioned in that conversation, and I did not have my conclusive answer, but let me ask the question to you. It was said that Jesus Christ, if you take an example, he was crucified and killed. So, and he is also the founder and guru when he's a devotee as Arjuna. So, what does it mean to God protects, or his devotee is not lost. So what does it mean? Could you please explain in that context?
That's a good question. Well, Srila Prabhupada, there's some very relevant verses and purports in Srimad Bhagavatam. And, but basically Srila Prabhupada says that when we see devotees suffer reversals, and he mentioned Sri Prahlad, Haridas Thakur, and Jesus Christ, that when we see devotees suffer reversals, we should not be disturbed. But we should understand that behind whatever is happening is a plan of the Lord. And in relation to Jesus Christ, Srila Prabhupada said that it would be superficial to say that he was killed, because in a way he wasn't. What does it mean, my devotee will never perish? Of course, everyone will die sooner or later, so it doesn't mean that we'll be able to live forever within the body. But it means that our devotional service and character will be preserved. And, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, even a slight advancement on the path will protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So whatever advancement we make in this life, even if we're not completely successful, we will continue in the next life. So that's also Kamteya Pratijana Hiname Bhakta Pranashiti. If we do 1% in this life, it's not lost. In the next life, we can begin from 2%. So, there's no loss or diminution. Is that all right?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, so nice to see you. Maharaj, you had mentioned towards the end that we're all going to be on the same boat, and devotees might be in different levels. So you had also mentioned that just be concerned with your philosophy and practice, and just practice Bhakti Yoga. Can you shed more light on that, Maharaj? Don't be concerned about others. So I didn't get that point from Maharaj. Thank you.
Well, don't be concerned about others means, like Srila Prabhupada said, not everyone may be to your liking. But that's not your concern. Your concern is the philosophy and practice, and to cross the ocean. So we should be focused. Focus on what's important. The famous German author Goethe said, the things that are most important should never be at the mercy of the things that are the least important. So what's most important is our Krishna consciousness, advancing in Krishna consciousness and spreading Krishna consciousness. And the little friction that we might have with devotees is not so important. And so the main thing shouldn't be sacrificed on account of the lesser things.
Regarding the Kaunteya Pratijanahi verse, declare it boldly, Arjuna, that my devotees never perish. Is there any reference anywhere that the Arjuna actually declared it boldly?
I haven't heard of that, but the acharyas in their comments on that verse are, they're very emphatic, and it's sort of related to the verse Apichat Sudaracharo Bhajate Mamanamyava Sadhur Eva Samantavya. And the acharyas, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur and others, they say something like Arjuna like declaring it boldly with trumpets and drums, and like they give a very vivid image of Arjuna making that declaration. They don't, in a very dramatic way. Yes.
Maharaj, one of the questions that is asked is, you brought up the pastime of Bhishma Dev. Thank you for giving us your association. One of the questions I get asked is, where it's mentioned in Bhagavatam that everybody on the battlefield of Kurukshetra got liberation because they died in front of the Supreme Lord. Is it really true, and how can you explain it? So if you can shed a little more light on that, Maharaj. Thank you.
Oh, it is true. And I've come across it in several places. I can't, cite the reference or the quotation verbatim, but I can email you because it has come up. And I first became aware of it as a relatively young devotee. After spending about a year and a half in Boston, Srila Prabhupada wanted to begin his activities in India, and he asked for the number 2 man in each temple. I was the number 2 man in Boston, and so I got to go. And after spending a little time in Bombay, Srila Prabhupada received an invitation to go to Amritsar. And in Amritsar, Srila Prabhupada received an invitation to visit. Of course, they were not kings anymore, but he was like a king, Baladev Inder Singh. He's a Kshatriya. And so we went to his house. He had a nice estate. And while we were there, he confided in Srila Prabhupada his personal anguish that an astrologer had told him that he was in the battle of Kurukshetra, but he was on the side against Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada said that cannot be true, because everyone who died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was liberated. And so that question came up in some conversations with me, and I put together at least 3 or 4 statements that confirm that fact. Again, I can't quote them verbatim or cite the exact reference, but I can email them to you, because it's a very, very clear principle. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Karunath Prabhu is asking from online.
Haribol, Maharaj. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. I wanted you to elaborate more on this idea of devotees quarreling, because it seems to me that religious authorities throughout the world have lost people's respect especially because of hypocrisy and quarreling, which I know are the hallmarks of the age of Kali. I also, just to Srivas Pandit's point, I wanted to mention that there is a passage or a purport in the first canto where Srila Prabhupada says that some demons who were on the planet at the time of Krishna didn't get the chance to get killed in his presence and get liberated, but because they were on the planet with Krishna, they got to take birth in Brahmin families as a benediction. But because they were demons, they continued their atheistic mentality, and this helped lead into the age of quarrel, that like Shringi cursed Parikshit Maharaj and so forth. But the question, I'd like you to elaborate on how we can, even within our society, ISKCON itself, we quarrel. And then, I always see online the followers of Madhvacharya are quarreling with the followers of Ramanujacharya, and even within Christian denominations, different Protestants are quarreling with other Protestants, and Catholics are quarreling with other Catholics. And of course, there's so many wars in Islam and so forth. There's a whole history of branches that quarrel with each other. Why is this going on, and how can it be stopped so that people will renew their faith in religious authorities?
Well, I won't speak about other traditions, but I'll speak about ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada said, your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate to keep this institution together after I leave. And historically, my experience was that for the sake of Srila Prabhupada, we were ready to set aside our personal differences because Srila Prabhupada came first, his service came first, his desire came first. So although one time, Srila Prabhupada gave an interesting instruction because we had a farm in Hyderabad, and there were 3 leaders of the project, and they were all very strong-willed individuals. And Srila Prabhupada told them, you sit together, you fight like cats and dogs, and when you all agree, you go ahead. So the idea is that, love for Srila Prabhupada and service to Srila Prabhupada will prevail. But yeah, he didn't like us to fight with one another. And but then again, we also shouldn't take these things, disagreements too seriously. Like in a family, even that episode with Raghunath Das, when his father and uncle were in trouble over their not delivering the full amount of the revenues they collected to the Muslim treasury. And so the Muslim Chaudhry, so he wanted to apprehend Raghunath's father and uncle, but he couldn't. So instead he apprehended Raghunath and took him into custody. And he spoke very sweetly to his Muslim captor, and he said that that within a family, the brothers are sometimes on good terms with one another, and sometimes they quarrel. And no one can tell when such a quarrel will end and when they'll be on good terms with one another again. So right now you are quarreling with my father and uncle, but one cannot say when that will change and you'll be on good terms with one another again. And that Muslim was so touched by Raghunath Das's words. It's described that tears were gliding down his beard. And so I would say that would apply to us, you know. We're brothers, sisters. Sometimes we may quarrel, but then again, the situation may change and again we'll be on good terms. So, yeah, I don't think we should get too upset about interpersonal differences. And then again, you know, a devotee, you know, I guess quite sincerely, you know, he said to Srila Prabhupada, I'm always offending devotees. And if I have to, like, apologize and beg forgiveness every time I offend a devotee, I'll have to spend the whole day apologizing and begging forgiveness. And Srila Prabhupada says, you don't have to do that. But in the morning, as part of the morning program, we offer Vaishnava Pranam. So he said, when you offer that Vaishnava Pranam in the morning, Vanchakalpatrubhyascha, you are internally praying to all the Vaishnavas to forgive you if you have offended them. So Vaishnava Pranam is not a small thing. I mean, we offer respect and also ask for implicitly we're asking for forgiveness.
When sometimes devotees have a different opinion about how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to conduct ourselves within our society, or just conduct ourselves as human beings within Dharma, how can we see those who disagree with us as being valid somehow?
Well, we can, I would hope we can acknowledge that their intention is good, that they want to serve Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even if they have a different approach than we do. And ultimately, we do have an authority structure which will probably decide. And once a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada about having a different opinion from the authority. And Srila Prabhupada gave the example that suppose you're in a car and the driver wants to go a particular way to reach the destination, but you think that you know a better way to reach the destination. So Srila Prabhupada said, you're completely at liberty to express your view, what you think the best route is, what the best way to go is. But ultimately, because you're not in the driver's seat, you're not the one to make the final decision. The driver will make the final decision. And you can still maintain the idea that your way was better. It's not wrong to think that your way was better. It would depend on who the authority is and what your relationship is, but just de facto, it's not necessarily that you have to think that the authority's way was better, but you have to go along with it because because they're the authority, but you can still maintain the belief that your way was better. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your wonderful class. I had more of a reflection and not a question. Can I say it?
Please.
So my school started and we were in literature and the teacher asked a question about moral ambiguity. The question was, is it good to do something with the wrong intent? I mean, is it okay to do something wrong if it's with a good intention? And then you were talking about how the Lord, he'll break his word if it's, needed for his devotees. And I was thinking of this verse in Hari Bhakti Vilas, which said that it's okay if the Lord says that if the devotee does something wrong with an intention to serve me, it's okay. But if somebody does something religious without the intention to serve me, it's considered sinful. So I was thinking that how, and then I related that how Yudhishthira, he spoke a lie to kill Dronacharya, because Dronacharya was actually, he was destroying the Yudhishthira's army, and he spoke a lie that Ashwatthama was dead. And then Drona immediately he set down his bow and arrow, and he started crying, and then he got beheaded and killed. So and Yudhishthira said that because of Krishna. Krishna told Yudhishthira to lie that Ashwatthama was dead. And I was thinking how Yudhishthira did something which was basically related to this verse. He did something wrong for Krishna, but it was still considered dharma because Krishna told him to do it.
Yes, very good. Vaisheshika Prabhu, do you want to comment on this?
No, Maharaj, I have something separate.
Oh, then I will comment on this.
Okay.
And then I'll. Yes, this, of course, in India we came across this story. And Srila Prabhupada has commented that Yudhishthira's hesitation to tell a lie was a spiritual defect. He should have immediately agreed to whatever Krishna wanted. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was so attached to being truthful that he didn't even want to say that Ashwatthama is dead, Dronacharya's son. But he said, he wanted to say, Ashwatthama the elephant is dead. But Krishna blew his conch shell to drown out the elephant part. And it is said that before that incident, Maharaj Yudhishthira's chariot would not touch the ground. But after that incident, it did. And the mundane moralists explain it that because he told a lie. But Srila Prabhupada says that's not the reason. The reason is because he hesitated to execute the order of Krishna. Vaisheshika Prabhu?
Maharaj.
May I?
Please do.
Okay. I have two separate points. First is a question, and second is declarative, if I may. So I'll just do the question first, but I want to reserve my space for the declaration afterwards. Well, in light of today's verse and what you said about preaching and also reading the books and so forth, and also in light of the fact that we've been studying your life in Krishna consciousness by reading your book. Not that we weren't before, but now we're finding out so many more things. My question is that here in our community, we tend to take on goals that are ever increasing, and felt maybe you could give us a little encouragement or therapy if necessary. As we take on these goals, there's almost a sort of madness to it. For instance, recently, we decided that we would make a goal to distribute at least 2,000 sets of Bhagavatams for the Bhadra Purnima. And each time we do something like this, we get a little bit mad because we're not exactly sure how it will happen. And it seems like there's a big gap. I can't say we haven't missed a goal yet, but each time we do it, we get a little agitated. And then since we know you're the Bhishma Dev of preachers, we're reading about it in your book, that could you, from the warrior's point of view, from the battlefield of preaching, could you tell us whether we're properly adjusted, we should calm down a little bit, or what kind of guidance will you give us in general and specifically about us reaching our goal of 2,000 sets of Srimad Bhagavatams in the next few weeks?
Well, it's good to be mad for Krishna. And, I mean, you said that you can't say that you've met your goals every time. But every time I've been here, I remember Malini Devi standing in front of Srila Prabhupada and saying, we've broken and smashed our... So...
No, I said we've never missed.
Oh, you never missed?
We've never missed a goal.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you clarified that. So then, yeah, I guess I just think of the line from Vedanta Sutra that Brahman is unlimited but always expanding. So yeah, you're always expanding. So that's great. I pray that you are successful in your latest astronomical goal.
And that fits with the declaration of the devotee, right? Haribo!
You are too clever. Jai.
Maharaj, we're only following your footsteps, and my declaration is that in reading your book recently, and we're almost finished, daily we read it, and we've gained so much insight into Prabhupada's moods, intimate instructions to those who are engaged in his service, specifically in the context of the Juhu project and the way that you list many different circumstances and the way Prabhupada reacted to them. The latest we heard was Prabhupada talking about being himself, being nishkinchana, having passed through many phases of life, and he wanted nothing more of the material world, as in his own words. And so my declaration is just, I think everyone should read this book. It's extremely important historically. It's amazing how a Jew who has been there for so many years, and maybe a lot of people don't even know about it, but what's inside it and what was behind developing that project and Prabhupada's will and the will of the devotees is so instructive that it's a must read for every single devotee. So everyone should, in my opinion, is my great hope that everyone will get one, not just one of those books, but I ask everyone, if possible, please get two and pass one on to somebody else so that as many devotees as possible can read the book. Maharaj will be here for a couple of days, probably willing to sign the books and make, give some blessing along with handing them over. But it's my strong recommendation that you please read the book. Hare Krishna.
All right, thank you. One little point from the book, which is related to book distribution. Srila Prabhupada wanted to build a temple for Radharasa Bihari. And in fact, the title of the book, I'll Build You a Temple, is Srila Prabhupada's promise to Radharasa Bihari. But at one stage, there was so much opposition, we just were not getting the permission to build. And Srila Prabhupada said, all right, we will turn Hare Krishna land into a bus stop. We will have we'll have buses, and we'll fill them up with books, devotees and books, and we'll send them out. And then when they are finished with the books, they can come back to our bus stop and get more books and go out again. So, Srila Prabhupada he was always a hero. I mean, I'm tempted to say he was never discouraged, but occasionally he said he was discouraged. I don't know if he really was. But, but one time when he said he was discouraged, so after we got the land, finally, Srila Prabhupada wanted to start the construction fund. And Dr. Patel, Srila Prabhupada's regular companion on his morning walks on Juhu Beach, so he was telling Srila Prabhupada that he would have to bring money from America to build the temple. And Srila Prabhupada said, Bombay is such a wealthy city, if they wanted, they could give the whole amount in one day. And Dr. Patel said, yes, but they don't want. And then Dr. Patel said, anyway, I don't want to discourage you. And Prabhupada said, but you are discouraging me. But basically, Srila Prabhupada was not discouraged. Yeah, he was always a fighter, always a hero. Yeah.
Ashari Madhava has a question online.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for this class. This is Ashray Madhav Das.
Hare Krishna.
And your description of this boat in which we'll go to the spiritual world started making me think of a question that in the material world, the reason, this is my perception, is why we have conflicts is because when we have interactions with other people, we have some expectations of how it will go. but it does not go that way. It does not go to our taste. Most of the time, that's why the conflicts are there. And the question is now related to the spiritual world. When we go to the spiritual world, do the experiences what we have with the interactions, of course, in the center, Krishna is there, Radha Krishna is there in the center, and all the devotees are trying to serve Radha Krishna, but they are also interacting with themselves, as you said, that you will be with the other devotees for a long time in the spiritual world. So are the experiences in spiritual world, like, are they, I don't know if I'm framing the question right, are they like to the individual taste, or they are restricted by that shared experience like we have in material world, and as a result in material world we don't like, but in spiritual world we won't have those conflicts? I'm just trying to understand how the spiritual world works basically.
There's no envy in the spiritual world. Here in the material world, we may be envious, even of other devotees. But in the spiritual world, there's no envy, only appreciation of the other devotees. I did once ask Srila Prabhupada about envy. It was quite early when we came to India, in Surat. And I was thinking a lot about envy. And I thought of so many reasons why being envious was bad and made no sense. It was bad because I felt it was affecting my relationships with devotees, even if I tried not to act on it, but still, in a subtle way at least, it was affecting my relationships with devotees. And there was no reason to be envious because Krishna is unlimited and his service is unlimited, so even if one devotee is doing a particular service, it doesn't mean that there won't be any service for me there. There will always be service. So I approached Srila Prabhupada, and I asked him about envy, and he first asked me, have you thought of any reasons why you should not be envious? And I said yes, because I really had. And he said, all right. So being envious of someone means you don't like them. And that not liking should not be directed toward devotees. That not liking should be directed toward demons who are always causing trouble to devotees. So, yeah. There's really no reason why we shouldn't not like a devotee, although, I mean, we have our conditioning. But there's again, if we keep Prabhupada and Krishna in the center, there shouldn't be any difficulty. Your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate. But Burijan Prabhu has given some nice examples of how we come in conflict with one another. Although we may not say it directly, I'm sure nobody would say it directly. But he said the psychology is, everyone is walking around with the psychology. Excuse me, please. I have an important announcement to make. I am the center of the universe. And you all should cooperate with my desires. And another example he gave is that most people go through life as if it were a drama or a movie in which he or she is the hero or heroine, and everyone else is meant to be the supporting cast to support them in their exploits. So you can imagine, I'm going around thinking, I'm the hero of this movie, you're meant to support me. And you're thinking, no, I'm the hero of the movie, you're meant to support me. So then there's conflict. But if we accept, Prabhupada and Krishna and the Parampara, they're the heroes and we're the supporting cast for them, then our relationship should be harmonious. Yes? At the back, microphone. She got one.
Hare Krishna ji. So in your lessons, you were telling about what we do in this life, especially the service to Lord Krishna, will be carried forward to the next life.
Yes.
So once, when I was in India, I was having this conversation with my sister. So she was saying that her guru, she told her that the bhakti in this world will last only for 9,500 years. So we have to be liberated before 9,500 years, because after that, the bhakti may not survive in the Kali Yuga. Then I was simply making fun of her. Okay, then we have 9,500 by kind of average life shots to get liberated, so why not have little fun in this life? And then she was like, Then we started talking about Swarga and Naraga, because what we do in this life will also, then we have to spend some more years in Swarga and Naraga on what we are doing in this life. Then we started thinking about how many years, what we spend in Swarga and Naraga, so that we can compensate for how many life that we should have to reach to Krishna. And then she went and asked her Prabhu, what it is. So the Prabhu said, if you do good deeds in this life, you will go to Swarga. And in the Swarga, you will have to spend 10,000 years as default. So by the time you come back to earth, there won't be any bhakti. So do whatever you can in this birth to get liberated. So now, what we do, so is this mandatory that we have to get liberated in this birth, or, we can do little forward and do next births? And our conversation somewhere stopped there. I got reminded of this conversation, and when you said that our deeds will carry on forward to next life and how that will be. Thank you, Prabhuji.
I would say that you should go back to Godhead at the end of this life. I think of two stories, you could say. One was something that Srila Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Goswami, which was that Krishna wants you to go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this very lifetime. And Krishna will extend your duration of life beyond what it was meant to be, just to give you enough time so that you can go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this life. And the other example is it's related to the story of Bilvamangal Thakur. You might know in his previous life he was very advanced. He had come to the stage of Bhava Bhakti, but somehow he didn't complete his Krishna consciousness, so he took birth again as Bilvamangal Thakur. And as Bilvamangal Thakur, he became very attached to a prostitute. And it's described that, on the night of his father's funeral ceremony, he was telling the priest, hurry up, because he wanted to go and meet the prostitute. And he went through It's quite an interesting story, but in brief, he went through a lot of effort and overcame a lot of obstacles that night to reach her. And by the time he reached her place, she thought, Bilvamangal's not coming, so, she locked up the house, and anyway, somehow I think he used a rope to climb over the wall, a snake, used a snake as a rope to climb over the wall. She came to him. He came to her. And she said to him, if you had as much attachment for Krishna as you have for me, it would be much better for you. And somehow those words went deep into Bilvamangal's heart, and he left immediately for Vrindavan. Now it is said that Bilvamangal's spiritual master from his previous life spoke through the mouth of that prostitute to Bilvamangal Thakur. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur related this story and gave the conclusion that you should all go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this lifetime. So I don't have to come back and save you from the house of a prostitute. So, yeah, I agree with the conclusion that you should go back to Godhead at the end of this life. And, generally, if you're not completely successful, Suchinam Shimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Bijayate, you'll take birth in a wealthy aristocratic family or family of Brahmins. It's not mentioned that you're going to go to Swarga. So, yeah. But still, try to finish up. You have every opportunity. Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
Maharaj, thank you so much for the wonderful class, and thank you for coming to bless us. You said in your lecture today that in spiritual world there is no preaching because everybody is already Krishna conscious. So could you please give us some glimpse? How is it like in the spiritual world? Is Krishna with each and every devotee, or without preaching and all? Like what will be the activities there?
Well, when you go to Goloka Vrindavan, you will have an eternal relationship with Krishna in one of the 5 primary rasas, mainly Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. And you can get that idea of what is life with Krishna from Krishna book, from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we should be attracted. There's a nice verse in the 10th canto in which Krishna says, Anugrahaya, that word anugraha is in here too. Anugrahaya bhaktanam. And Krishna says that out of mercy for my devotees, I descend into the material world and display my pastimes so that devotees will be attracted to them and dedicate themselves to me. So we should, hearing about Krishna's pastimes, Krishna book or 10th canto, we should do that. And we should become attracted to that life and want to go there. Same with Chaitanya Lila. So we have approximately half a minute.
Yeah. It's a Katvanga situation.
Okay, I'm going to surrender. So now what? Arti? All right. Thank you very much. I just want to say something about how nice Krishna consciousness is. I remember getting such thunderous applause when I was in junior high school. I guess now they say middle school. They don't want anyone to feel inferior by being called junior. And so they had a program called Citizen of the Month. You know, it was a big thing to be awarded Citizen of the Month. So one month I was Citizen of the Month, and there was like this sort of thunderous applause like this. But it wasn't very palatable because of my false ego. But this was very nice because I knew it was all meant for Srila Prabhupada. I didn't even have to make an effort. It just went to Srila Prabhupada. And then I thought, wow, you know, Krishna consciousness is really nice.
His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Now we're going to move all the asanas back over to the back wall where the Panchatattva are, and we'll stand up for the Artik ceremony. Thank you very much.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I should go ask him?
Thank you, Maharaj, for coming to ISV.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Please join us tomorrow. It's Krishna's birthday. We'll start here at 4:30 a.m. and we'll go all the way until past midnight. There'll be no breaks in between. Only hearing and chanting. And service. Lots of service for everybody. Bring all your friends and family. We'll have it set up so that it will be accommodated and not inconvenient in any way. Any other details you'd like me to impart?
Hare Krishna. So this is a very wonderful year because we're going to do the Janmashtami in person. So that's a very much, and especially with His Holiness Giriraj Swami and Vaisheshika Prabhu, Nirkula Mataji, and many, many more Prabhupada disciples. And for the pleasure of the Lordships and pleasure of you, we have 2 Abhisheks. And we're going to have 10 o'clock Abhishek, specially just for you, so you can sit through the whole Abhishek.
I would like to join the 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, yay. How about we have Vaisheshika Prabhu, Mother Nirkula, and of course Maharaj do the Abhishek for all of you. How about, would you like that? All right, so everybody has taken off, I believe, or if not, we can help you with the sick leave. And we will see you all tomorrow at morning program at 4:30. There is plenty of service for everyone to get engaged. One and all are welcome. We do recommend one of the parents can watch the kids under 12. That would be very helpful. Beside that, we have plenty of the parking for each of you at the atrium parking lot, but that's after 4:30. And before that, please find the parking around. Let's not block the neighbors. Neighbors are our friends. And also, if you want to make sure that your friends are coming, they have a sign up. Please forward them sign up. Please register. That will help our volunteers to take care of everyone who walks in through the temple, and we'll serve together, okay?
One more thing. Tuesday morning is Srila Prabhupada's 125th appearance day, Vyasa Puja celebration. So call your boss, call your teachers, tell them we're not coming in. We don't care what you guys say. We're celebrating the 125th anniversary appearance of our founder Acharya for ISKCON. Okay? Nirkula's got a hat and an apron on, so something big is up.
We started preparing Srila Prabhupada's feast on Friday, and we're cooking for 450. So please, please come. It's very important to us, Prabhupada disciples, that you come and share this day with us. Show gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. It's a big one. So do your best, please, to come for the program, and we'll offer a nice feast and Pushpanjali and the Sankirtan results to Srila Prabhupada. And the more that you are here, more of you that are here, the better. So from my heart to yours, please come.
Haribol. $25 each. Don't buy fewer than 2, please. One for you, one for somebody else, okay? Say yes. Yes. Haribo.
Maharaj would have a sign-up table in the back, near outside the $1 million wall, so everyone can have opportunity. We'll have prasadam to go, and then you can just see if there is no line, please join. Let's not everyone crowd up. You can also honor prasadam, and then we have the amazing, wonderful service opportunity for each of you. So we're going to go and engage in a devotional service while we have this wonderful opportunity this year. Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Hiranyakashipu vakshaha. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Bhagavad Maharaj ki jai, Shiva Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanand.
Thank you for coming, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning at around 4:29 a.m. Hare Krishna. And now we're going to honor Prasadam. And before we do, we're going to sing some prayers expressing our joy in taking Prasadam, as it's mentioned in the prayers, that normally people have a hard time controlling their tongue. In fact, it's the most formidable enemy that we have in controlling our senses. It's the gateway sense to all the other senses. If we can control the tongue, then all the other senses can come under control. So Krishna is very kind, and he's given us Krishna Prasadam, so that by honoring Prasadam, we can control the tongue, control all the senses, develop love for Krishna, and go back home, back to Godhead. Haribol! Sharira Dijajah Jodandriya Aheka Jive Pere Dishaya Svagode Dharma Devi Gayati Loga Musukunati Kati Vita Kati Kasansare Krishna Bora Saprasarana Dilopa Shayanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunajao Preme Tato Shri Chaitanya Nita Preme Tato Chaitanya Nita Mahasare Govinde Namagamani Paisare Sarva Punya Vadhamraja Vishapunantai Rasare Sarva Kithana Pandya Shobhajayate Satsana Cheta Soyashu Vishaya Swayopa Vishastananda Vasankara Sarchita Ushishta Bodhinodasya Brahmayam Jayenahi Parvapi Parabhidam Datavarabhutarayo Parihara Vidradvasa Kanakakapisham Haichayantim Shamaya Rang Veno Radharasudaya Punayan Gopavrindaye Vrindaranyam Sapadaramanam Kavisha Hitakirti Tavakatamritam Tajivanam Avadiritam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimanakatam Bhuvikranantiye Buridajana Krishna Kirtana Jana Nartana Kala Pato Jani Brajika Bhakta Valihamsa Chatra Madhuka Shreni Viharaspradam Anandika Ravaneva Hatune Jiva Marupandane Chaitanya Dayani Vetavalasa Lila Sunita Kedaya Vishakaya Praniraramodaya Shanyashastra Vivadaya Rasadaya Chitta Tito Madaya Shashvadbhakti Vinodaya Samadaya Madhurya Mayadaya Chaitanya Dvaya Nibhetavadaya Gujara Mandodaya Yako Marahara Seva Hivara Ta Eva Chaitra Shapa Chaitani Liktamalati Surapaya Raudakadambanila Sachaivam Sikatati Kata Surata Vyaparalila Vida Devarodangi Veda Sitarikale Shri Vishnu Shravan Parikshira Bhava Vaya Sakhi Kirtane Kalada Smarane Taram Vibhajane Lakshmi Pritu Pujane Akurastha Vibandane Kapapati Dasya Tasakya Yuna Sarvasvadani Vedani Bhaviravu Krishna. One more time. Sarvasvadani Vedani Bhaviravu Krishna Tireshra Para Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna. Panchakoptarubhishcha kripasindhavevacha patitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Shri Shri Radhamadan Mohan ki jai, Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev ki, Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Prasadam served. What? Picnic area. Outside.